Hi. I had filmed a video last night after I got home from Moana and deleted it this morning. So I'm kind of going to recreate it. And basically when I got home last night, I was really tired. So I didn't do any crocheting during it. So I'm not going to do any crocheting during it either, during this afternoon's one either. But I did pick up another 9 hats. That's one of those hats. I'm currently working on that now. And got a new group of kiddos. That is one of the other ones that we'll be working on. This one should be fairly easy. I do have the colors for it. It's orange and purple. This one should be fairly easy. Just red and white. Of course, the rainbow is next. And pom-poms should be fun. Sometimes they don't turn out the way you think they are. Even when you do each side of the pom-pom, one color, then when you put it together, it doesn't always wind up being that way. That hat, I have all those colors for it. Should be okay. The bottom rim might be a little bit different because it'll be 2 rows of that orange, 2 rows of the blue. Sometimes they look kind of funky. And there is one of these. I'm concerned about this color here, and I'll kind of show you why. There's 2 more that have that color in it, which is that kind of fuchsia color. And I do not have any of that available. First, I thought maybe dark raspberry would work, but now I'm kind of rethinking that. Do you have the brighter green? So that won't be a problem. Because I think the raspberry is going to be too dark. So I may have to go up and go find some different yarn for that. May have to run to the store. I don't think Walmart carries that kind of color. I had told you about my friend who'd asked me to make some bags for a couple of her friends, so I'm going to show you the fabrics that were chosen. And this one is a little bit of panel, different sayings, basically around religion, kindness, God's chosen people, holy, dearly loved, clothe yourself with compassion. So it has a lot of Bible verses on it. But she is also a beekeeper, so lots of times that's where I get my honey from. So lining is going to be done in this, those 2 together. The other friend that she has that she wants a bag made for does a lot with music, and this past summer she was able to play with an Italian orchestra in Italy. I think she plays trumpet. But so she wanted something that had music on it, and so we think that this would work. The music is all things bright and beautiful, and it's got rabbits and deer, butterflies, flowers, and then the interior will be just this musical print, music notes. So that was something that was kind of nice. I did also find a adorable, this is duck cloth canvas, which is special for Christmas, and I wanted to make me a bag. So I'll make me a bag and may make one for the shop. Probably do that Saturday. So there'll be that. While I was there, I did find that there was another piece of the vinyl, and these I make pencil pouches out of, or even bags that when I do the menstruation pads, lots of times I will use that for those bags. And then I did find some cute little beads to make a couple of bracelets and whatnot. And the week that we were there, Scrapology was on sale. So I like using this for making scrubbies. But also with those scrubbies, these scrubbies are good for using. You can exfoliate with your skin with them. You can also use these to clean your vegetables and your potatoes. It's one of my favorite ways to use that. And I have one that's set aside for just that never sees the dishes. So there's that. I had talked about my flare-up with fibromyalgia. And you know that's a big deal. And I had planned on not doing anything when I got to Awana, anything physical, because lots of times we have games at a certain point of the night, and lots of times I will participate in some of the games, not all of them, but some of the games. And I thought, well, I'm not going to participate. We didn't have a whole lot of leaders last night. We were really short. And generally I am just a floater, which means I can move from table to help as they need. I can also take the kids back and forth to the bathroom, drinks of water, take them over to the listening room for the listeners to listen to their them say their verses. But it's every week we have been short, and I have been put as a table leader to lead a table, which it's not a bad thing because, you know, with the different people that miss out, I'm able to move from person, you know, table to table, get to know all the kids. But, you know, it kind of defeats the purpose of I didn't want to be a table leader this year. But apparently I'm the sub-table leader. Which isn't bad because, you know, the director, she finds a lot of confidence in me because I can work with all the kids and, you know, they get along well with me. So, but, you know, it was kind of like I just really wanted to take it easy and just be kind of hanging out. But, yeah, it's okay though. Sometimes you just do what you gotta do, right? But basically, that's what was going on last night. That is all the video was about, other than some of the things with the news, you know, that Mandami had won the election, and people are making a big thing about it, that, you know, it was a mandate and all this. And I'm like, not really, because where all the Democrats won were Democrat states anyway, so that was probably more normal than what everybody thinks it was. But, you know, it is what it is. Now, I did watch some of his speech, after his acceptance speech, and boy, I don't know, Guy, if you had watched it, some of it was a little fiery. Let's put it that way, a little fiery. So anyway, it should be interesting. I do find it odd that so many people were voting for socialism, communism. You would think that they would understand that this past month so far, you know, last month, this month, we have been living under a bit of communism. When you look at the whole thing with the SNAP benefits, which I don't think those should ever be withheld. I think there should be a law put in place that is always continued for folks so that there's no hardships for a lot of people. But I do think that the SNAP does need to be overhauled, and I'll tell you why. Because economically, when we are going to the grocery store, those people that work or are retired do not receive a pay raise that allows them cost of living for groceries, those kind of things. Those are built into SNAP. And so while I can't normally buy some of the things I would normally buy, like right now, ground beef is expensive. So I am buying a ground beef pork blend that is cheaper. But, grocery stores are whining about their profit margin is so low. Well, they only make 1 to 2% profit anyway over groceries. Now, someplace like Walmart has a bigger, you could say, profit margin because they do sell a lot of other things. But to be honest, there are a lot of people who are receiving SNAP who are not using their purchasing dollars for that in Walmart. They may use other dollars that they get, for their cash family assistance, that kind of thing. But they're probably not spending what normal, everyday people do spend. But, so that person that is on SNAP is able to continue to afford the beef each month because they do get a little bit more when those costs go up. So there's that, right? But anyway, we've been living under that little bit of communism because it's like this. A government that can feed you can also starve you. They can also make you vote the way they want you to vote simply by using food as a tool. And we have seen that. Now, do I think those states where the people voted Democrats back in or into their, local elections? No, I don't think that SNAP, the food issue had anything to do with that. But we also have a lot of Democrats who have been using this as leverage, thinking that they are going to help people, and they're not. They just aren't helping people. They're really not working for the people. They're working for themselves. When they cry about the healthcare subsidies, you have to understand, those are tax cuts that you, the taxpayer, pay. And you're paying that to the healthcare companies. So in other words, for those who are on ACA, you're getting a tax break, as in cheaper rates, through this subsidy that taxpayers are paying for. Which, a lot of taxpayers are okay, no big deal. But there are a lot of taxpayers that can't afford the health care, and ACA is not affordable health care. It just is not. But then again, those subsidies go directly to the healthcare companies in the form of billions of dollars every year. So they want $1.5 trillion for that. That would go directly to the healthcare companies, who then in turn would endorse candidates. So they're taking that money, turning it around, and putting it in towards candidates. And I've told you before, a lot of these companies, healthcare companies, are using AI to determine what claims to pay out. And I have an issue with that, like someone that's needing a surgery. I think you've heard the story of the young man that's in, I think he's in California, with Kaiser Permanente, that he has a rare form of cancer, and there is a medication that can be used for that to help lengthen his life, even possibly cure that cancer. They did find that, yes, it could be given he was given that permit, whatnot, yet they're not getting the drug for him. So he reached out to President Trump to ask if he could help with that because it's already been pre-approved. It's just the company's not getting the drug. So Trump then replied to his request, said, I'm on it. He got Robert Kennedy in there to start working on it to make sure that that drug gets to him. It is an experimental drug, but if you are dying and you want to take an experimental drug that might possibly save your life, why not? Those are my thoughts. Maybe it'll help, but then maybe again, you can use a lot of that towards research for further issues with the drug, research and development for the drug. So there's that. But yeah, I just have an issue with $1.5 trillion that is directly going to go to these healthcare companies, who then in turn will put it in donations towards many of the Congress people they keep in. And I will tell you, yesterday I saw a video of them leading Mitch McConnell into the Senate. He could barely walk. He had to have two people, one on each side of him, to get him in there. Term limits. My goodness. Then you have Nancy Pelosi talking about that she's going to depend on whatever the outcome of the election was to determine whether she's going to run again. She's 85. Term limits, people. Seriously. They're needed. And we may have to do that with the constitutional amendment referendum. So like I said, if you're seeing that in your state, or if you've wondered if one is being gathered for your state, go research it. See, there is, so that you can sign up if you're in favor of term limits. Yeah, it's very much needed. And I'm one of those people, I think, Congress people, they should be changed out like dirty underwear as often as possible. And I don't think our founding fathers expected people to make a lifelong career out of being in the Congress. I think they expected people would serve a couple terms and then move on. Of course, they also had jobs that they did at home. You look at all of them, most of them were farmers or ran plantations, farms. So, they all had a day job. And of course, back then they only were at Congress, 3 months towards spring and then 3 months in the fall, 6 months out of the year instead of year-round. Do we really need them year-round? I don't know. Sometimes I don't think so, because they don't always work for the people. But yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on that. All right, guys, this is going to be short and sweet. You're going to see this a little bit later on this afternoon. And I've already filmed the What Whip and coffee in the same outfit. So there you go. All right, I may see you again Saturday, maybe not. Just depends on what's going on. All right, everybody have a blessed day and try to do something kind for somebody else.